In the long and glorious history of the Imperium of Man, humanity has encountered hundreds of strange and dangerous Xeno creatures throughout the galaxy. Many of these Xeno abominations have plagued man since the Dark Age of technology, taking advantage of the Age of Strife when the ancient human empire was isolated and broken. As the Great Crusade liberated many of these oppressed and enslaved humans under Xeno control, they butchered the aliens that dared threaten mankind during its darkest hour. Just as many Xeno empires were destroyed by the Emperor and his warriors as were encountered during the Crusade. Some lucky aliens managed to escape the xenocide enacted by the vengeful wrath of the Imperium. They now lurk in the shadows in the deepest corners of the galaxy. Bitter and broken, these Xenos want revenge against humanity, but can never truly accomplish it. Although there are a few Imperial savants that are still aware of their existence, the alien survivors are so insignificant that humanity refuses to acknowledge their threat. They suppress any reported sightings or redact any ancient records of these Xeno. But what this does is it creates an opportunity for these forgotten Xenos to thrive. They bite off chunks off the fat from the bureaucratic and slow-moving Imperium. Few Xeno epitomize this parasitic and vengeful notion more than the Lacrymole. Their greatest achievement wasn't the terror that they caused humans during the Age of Strife, but rather convincing man that they no longer exist. And with that said, I want to welcome you guys back to another 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gersh1, and today we're going to be talking about the Xeno species known as the Lacrymole. If you guys are new to the channel, we post Warhammer 40K lore videos every single day. What I try to do is I read you the lore and then connect it to something within the hobby and then a Q&A portion at the end of this video. So if you guys have suggestions or questions about the 40K universe, just ask down in the comment section below. I'll answer them the following day. But with all that said, let's get into 40 facts on the Lacrymole. Very few records exist of the Xeno species known as the Lacrymole. Much of the data on these creatures has been lost since the Great Crusade. It wasn't until recently that Inquisitor Grandoval discovered their existence on the world of Beta Cairn. When he discovered this horrific alien species, Grandoval called an assembly of the Inquisition's Ordo Xenos and had the Lacrymole declared a Xenos Horrificus, an imperial designation requiring that every member of this alien species be exterminated upon discovery. The descriptions that do exist of this Xenos paint a horrific picture of a large mass of flesh and limbs that are in constant motion, with only two black eyes remaining unchanged. This is the creature's true form, but the form that it actually usually takes is that of an average human. That is because the Lacrymole is a shapeshifter. They are capable of changing their appearance at will and use this to infiltrate their enemy's lair. But because they have ever only gotten caught aboard Imperial vessels, it is unknown how wide their shapeshifting abilities truly are. The humanoid form they take is usually that of their former victims. On top of being a shapeshifter, the Lacrymole is vampiric. It is the blood they drink that allows them the ability to shapeshift into that individual. The true danger is how quickly they can take on the shape of their victims. As soon as the blood is ingested, the Lacrymole begins deconstructing the DNA sequence and uses it as a blueprint for its new form. There are rumors that this process is not always perfect, and so the Lacrymole will not be 100% accurate to the original victim. If the difference can be identified in time, the Lacrymole's impersonation can be questioned, but once the Xeno feels like it has been detected, it will fight like a cornered wild animal. Records aren't clear if the Lacrymole can mimic voices either. The covert nature of the Xenos has made it incredibly difficult to track down. All of these biological adaptations that naturally interact with DNA could have been used in the gene labs on Luna. Check out our 40 facts on the gene labs of Luna or the Moon. I'll put a link up above. The most notable encounter with the Lacrymole has been recorded as the Cardinal Spectre Incident, or the Lacrymole Incident. This occurred during the early days of the Aculus Crusade, before the death of the War Master Aculus, and before the true extent of the Imperium's foes had been uncovered. As the Crusade fortified the region around the Well of Night, countless scouts ranged out in all directions, assessing new worlds for conquest and spying on heretical populations and blasphemous alien empires. They sent information streaming back to the War Master. Among these reports was the appearance of an ancient space hawk, the Cardinal Spectre. The Cardinal Spectre was an item of interest to the Inquisition as it had been sighted centuries before, and records spoke of it containing the remnants of a relic ship of the Great Crusade, a ship which might have once belonged to the Young Inquisition. A mission was organized and led by Inquisitor Malus Dice of the Ordo Xenos and supported by a Death Watch kill team. It set off to find the Space Hawk's location. After months of false leads, DICE and his team finally tracked the Cardinal Spectre, following its erratic wake in the warp, to the edge of the cursed Crescent system, just beyond the boundaries of the Iron Collar. There they boarded the vessel and began to search for the relic ship. What they encountered instead was a nest of Xenos, which had apparently been living in the Space Hulk and using it as a base for centuries. At first, the kill team thought they might be facing a Genestealer infestation, as clawed shapes moved in the shadows and hissing sounds were heard echoing down the corridors. It was not until almost too late that they realized that the aliens were shapeshifters. Laying deadly traps for the kill team, the aliens had some of their numbers appear as vile alien beasts or clawed horrors like Genestealers, and they drew the Battle Brothers, the Inquisitor, and his acolytes into a hunt. Only then would they pick off the lone members of the group from behind and assume their forms, then get close enough to strike with surprise. After only a few hours of entering the Space Hulk, only DICE and a few Battle Brothers remained, and the Battle Brothers were deeply suspicious that DICE was an alien imposter. To save himself and return his report, the Inquisitor slipped away from the kill team during the firefight and made good his escape on the Cardinal Spectre, leaving all of his companions behind. Upon his return, DICE was convinced that the aliens encountered on the Spectre were the fabled Lacrymole, claiming that they were one and the same with those creatures slain by Inquisitor Grondoval and put to rest long ago. With no proof, however, and the loss of a kill team, he was shunned by his peers and it ended his career. He was a broken and babbling old man whispering of aliens in the dark. There is another less-known encounter with the Xeno species that occurred during the Horus Heresy. A Lacrymole was used at least once as an assassin by the forces of the War Master Horus. This particular Lacrymole was able to assume the form of a warrior of the Lego Custodes and infiltrated the planet Bastion, where it was to assassinate the senators and nobles of that world's ruling class, an act that would have led the planet to revolt against the Imperium and side with Horus. The fact that this creature was able to drink the blood of an Adeptus Custodes makes it a heavily guarded secret. Few within the Imperium, other than the Custodes themselves, know of this encounter. Now that we know the lore to this awesome Xeno race, let's get into the Q&A section of the video where I answer the questions and the comments that you guys left in the 40 Facts and Lore on the Penal World, or the yeah, it was the Penal World, wasn't it? I thought it was the Armageddon Steel Legion. My bad. Last video you guys left some questions and stuff. If you guys have questions for me in tomorrow's video, or for me to respond to in tomorrow's video, just ask down in the comment section below and I will get right to it. So let's start off with Arden Bolden. What is the Imperialis Auxilia? I think I've talked about this in a previous 40 Facts video. I was asked why the Imperium, or the Imperial Guard and the Imperial Navy are separate, and would they ever join together? And the answer was no, and that highlights your question, which is when they were together, what was it called? It was called the Imperial Army, or the Imperialis Auxilia, and it was just a group, or it was just like the army of the Imperium that was fighting in the Great Crusade. Obviously, after the Horus Heresy, they had the separation of all of the military powers so that another civil war, or another galactic civil war, could never happen again. And the Imperialis Auxilia was done away with. And we got the Imperial Navy, we got the Imperial Guard, or the Astra Militarum, and like all the separate little portions of the Imperial Navy that got broken up. So that's what that is. Good question, though. Next one comes from Brandon Frakes. How will the other Primarks react to Corax now that he has become something more? Is he a demon? And if so, how will his brothers and emperors react to it? I don't think he's going to be a demon, obviously. I don't think that they're going to take... If he ever does come back, or when he does come back, the Primarch, more than likely he is not going to be like the mutant or whatever that the lore suggests he might be. More than likely we're going to get a calm, cool, collected Corvus Corax who is going to lead the Raven Guard and his successor chapters into, whatever it may be. I don't believe that nothing has happened to him. But yeah. Next question comes from Alex Dar. David Abnett was recently asked if the Lost Primark should be discovered. His take was that they shouldn't be found. It's part of the grim dark theme that certain knowledge has to be lost for all time. What is your take on this, on his opinion? I agree that the Lost Primark should never come back to like 40K lore, or we should never know what the Lost Primarks were, because that was supposed to be a a tool for us to homebrew our own Primark history. So that's the reason that I think that the Primark should never come back. I don't necessarily agree that it adds to the grim darkness that some information is lost. It's kind of a, I guess, yeah, I could see it, but that's not the initial thing when I think of the Lost Primarks. I think there are other things that showcase the grim dark theme, like all of the Adeptus Mechanicus. The fact that the Adeptus Mechanicus is praying to these machines. And they call it like the big. Basically, think of a giant hive furnace. They call that a god machine, and it has like the embodiment of something so amazing. It's almost like if our children's children pray to Alexa or our voice-commanded thermostat in our houses. That's how like grim dark and like I wouldn't even. The way I would see it is it's just like in an oppression of knowledge that is the future of 40K. But yeah, I agree that the Lost Primark should not be discovered. But yeah. The next question, or this is just a comment, and it comes from Night Vision Goggles. Insert a Penal Legion into the Eye of Terror. That would be a terrible idea, just because the Penal Legion is just cannon fodder. I mean, I think there was, if you check out our 40 facts on the Warhounds, no, something Hounds. Oh, the Magma Hounds. They are a Chaos Warband. But before they were a Chaos Warband, they were a Loyalist Space Marine chapter that got sent into the Eye of Terror, along with, like, I want to say between 15 to 30 chapters, and most of them were destroyed. So if Space Marines, entire Space Marine chapters going into the Eye of Terror can't do anything, I doubt that the Penal Legion would. So yeah. And then next question comes from Treco the Rebel. Yeah, Treco the Rebel. Question for tomorrow. Have you heard of the Legion's Reborn AU or considered doing a video on it? I vaguely remember some. I think the Sound Alchemist talked about it, and the Sound Alchemist I thought was supposed to do a video on them, but basically it's a homebrew alternate reality to 40K, and it's really awesome. You guys should check it out. Legion's Reborn. I really like them just because they redo every single Primark, so they redo every single chapter, even the Lost chapters. One of them, though, and this is one of the traders that goes to Khorne, is his theme, or the theme of that chapter and that Primark, is Aztecs, or the Mayan kind of gods, and I think that's so awesome and so fitting, because, like, if you know anything about the Aztec mythology, their main god is the god of war. So, like, obviously going to Khorne is awesome, because Khorne is all about blood, and the Aztecs were not all about sacrifice, but sacrifice was part of their whole thing, but definitely conquest through war, and conquest or control through fear, and I really like that whole concept. So yeah, like I said, check it out. It's Legion's Reborn. The next question comes from Michael McDonald. What up, brother? So I started getting into Warhammer 40K lore last year, and you and the Sound Alchemist have made learning all this info really awesome and interesting to listen to. Anyways, my question is, that's awesome to hear. That's really why we create these videos, so you can get into the lore and you can, continue to purchase GW products. No, I'm just kidding. It's just so that you can get into the lore and you can, find that community here online. Even though it's everywhere now. But anyways, you say your question is that anyone from the penal planets ever become a space marine, or has anyone ever become somebody awesome on the chaos side? Yeah, if the entire what are they called? Night Hunters? No, the Night Hunter was the Primark, and the Night Lords were the Space Marines. So the entire planet of Nostromo basically started off as that. Is it Nostromo? I can't even remember. But yeah, so you have that. And then that's why they're not good. They're basically criminals and thieves and rapists and murderers that come from that world and that became part of the Night Lords chapter or Night Lords Legion. So you have that. And then you have other different chapters. Nothing that stands out that I can think of right now. But remember that when you have a crusading Space Marine chapter, that means that instead of having a homeworld, you usually just have a fortress monastery on your battle barge and you go around crusading. That's what the Space Marine chapter, that's what that specific Space Marine chapter type is like. They actually have multiple recruitment worlds, and one of those recruitment worlds could be a penal legion. So they go in, they have some type of agreement with probably like the head arbitrator of the planet, and they say, give me some human stock from obviously the children born of the prisoners, and then they become Space Marines. Because remember that Space Marines come from children. So there's that. Next question comes from Matt. Aside from the Inquisition, are there any other secret organizations within the Warhammer universe, like the Illuminati in our universe, or ONI in the Halo universe, and do any Xeno races have any equivalent? Yeah, so there is actually a lot. So within the Adeptus Mechanicus, there is a ton of tech priest cults that believes very specific things. Not just like the Inquisition, but like different sects within that world of like fighting the enemy within, have created new cults and stuff like that. Some of them want to resurrect the Emperor. Others want to use warp powers to fight chaos. So it's all over the place. But yeah, the big one that comes to mind is the I had it and it went away. The Cabal. The Cabal is like a secret organization of different Xenos, and their whole thing was that during the Horus Heresy, they actually wanted the Emperor to lose so that Horus would then start a terrible reign on humanity that would ultimately kill them off, and then it would then weaken the Chaos Gods, and the Cabal could destroy the Chaos Gods. So that's like the big top secret organization that I would say. But yeah. And then since it was a 40 facts video on the penal world, and then that day I asked some questions about like who would win in a fight, the Death Corps of Krieg or the Steel Legion, and Valletta Petra Cinera says, I argue that the Steel Legion has a major advantage that the Death Corps will never have. In a single word, maneuverability. The Death Corps is largely static. The siege of Vrax shows the weakness of static lines, and the Vraxians were largely untrained. The Steel Legion are the masters of mechanized warfare. And they do come from a fortress world, Armageddon, so that does make sense that they would be more... they would just have better strategies, and they're more well-trained. The Death Corps of Krieg, like I said in our 40 facts on the Steel Legion, they really are just children. So I see your point. I still think, though, that... I said that the Steel Legion would win, didn't I? I can't remember anymore. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. The Steel Legion just seems to... Oh, now I remember. The Steel Legion, but because the Steel Legion is a mechanized regiment, I feel like battles of attrition would still go to the Death Corps of Krieg, depending on whether they can get reinforcements or not. So just to paint the picture a little bit better, if you have an Imperial Guard regiment like the Steel Legion that focuses on mechanized warfare, and then you have, and they're going to get, I guess they'll get recruitment, or they would get reinforcements in the form of more mechanized infantry. So yeah, I guess you're right. You're right. You win, Valletta. Next question comes from Elias Ravanetti. Any update on your Safemoon or AMC investment? I was pretty big on Safemoon and AMC. I'm still holding both. Safemoon is really awesome just because, like, right now everything is trading sideways. Safemoon took a big dip because Bitcoin and Ethereum, well, Bitcoin took a big dip. But what's cool is that even if you just buy right now and you park your money in Safemoon, it's good for two reasons. Number one, in order to buy Safemoon, you have to get into Binance, and the Binance token or the Binance coin is only going to go up. Like, it's a good investment. So do, like, let's say you have $100, do 50 on BNB and then 50 in Safemoon. And then Safemoon right now is at an all-time low. Well, it's been going up slightly, but it's like any other momentum stock or cryptocurrency, or you could call them like meme meme token. As soon as like a celebrity says something, tweets something, that thing's gonna go up, and then that's your opportunity to sell. And a lot of other people are gonna do that. So even if you miss the opportunity, remember that with Safemoon, every time there's a fixed amount of Safemoon, every time there's a sale, a certain percent of that sale goes away. It gets burned forever. So even if that happens and you miss out on the sale, even if you just hold, that price goes up because there's less Safemoon to invest. That's why I like it, just because I got into it really early and I have money parked there. It hasn't really gone down too significantly. So I'm going to keep holding. And then AMC, like this has been a good week for AMC, so that's pretty good. I'm really big right now into Torchlight. If it's the ticker symbol is TRCH. It's been doing really, really good. There's two reasons why it's doing good. It's like the people who want it to squeeze, they're talking about it, and then they came out with this update that you're gonna get like an additional $5 per share on the 25th. So like if you get in before the 25th, you get guaranteed $5, and right now it's at $6. So on top of the fact that you're gonna have a $6 stock, you're going to get an additional $5. So you're kind of like increasing your investment as long as you sell right after the 25th, or keep it to the 25th, sell on the 26th, that kind of deal. But yeah, that's where I'm going with that kind of stuff right now. Let's see, what time is it? Holy shit, it's been 16 minutes. You know what? That's all the questions that I have for today. If you guys have more questions, please comment down below. All the stuff that I didn't get to, I'll probably just answer it typing. I really appreciate you guys interacting and everything and listening. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. This was Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Oh, I used to put my freedom